And once again, I want to say greetings to each and every one of you. Aquaba. Welcome. Welcome to another round of the Conscious Rasta Report here on LIB Radio, LIB TV, here on livinginblack.com. My name is Kidi Awadu, aka the Conscious Rasta. Weekday mornings, you and I get together live. We commit you from 9 a.m. Pacific time. That's 12 noon Eastern time, 5 p.m. GMT, and 8 p.m. East Africa time. We get together with you, and we deal with culture, consciousness, historical perspectives, entertainment, economics, education, health, labor, law, politics, religion, family conflict, future studies, all areas of human interactivity. Today's date is Friday. It is the 20th of June, 2026, 2025 in the Western calendar. This corresponds to the year 6265 in the Kemetic calendar, to which we have realigned our cultural clock. Welcome to the seventh millennium. You have found your family in a peaceful place here on LIB Radio, LIB TV, here on livinginblack.com. And I got to say, I've been stating one of the times wrong. For BST, not GMT, the time we are on live is from 5 p.m. BST. That's British Summer Time. I was corrected myself on that, actually. It's a pleasure to be with you today. Here I am in my village, the Kujichagulia village. These are artist renderings of the village. And today is the first day of summer. And we're going to celebrate the rebirth of grace and glory. Make Kemet great again. Let's talk about this. Today on LIB Radio is the most sacred day of the year. The summer solstice symbolized the sun god Ra at his apex. For this day, the priests purified themselves for the set of rituals that would necessarily prepare the empire to thrive. From the Nile Valley, the world's most powerful people ran the empire that dominated Earth for over 5,000 years. Let's learn more about these empowered Kemetians. And hopefully, as you and I learn more about them, we will see our place in the world, and hopefully we will see ourselves as an empowered people. So that is the subject for today. We got a lot of good research on the table. I say greetings to all of you who do tune in to us early. If you can, do hit the like button and type just a couple of words into the chat. Let us know that you are in the house today, that you appreciate, love what we do, and you consider yourself to be LIB Radio family. I'm going to go into my research, and then I have a little short piece of video that I'm going to be sharing with you just a little bit today. But first of all, let's go into some of the dialogue that we have on, the research that we have on today. Again, today is the Kemetic state. We're talking about ancient Egypt, the worship of the sun god Ra in ancient Egypt. In ancient Egypt, Ra, or Re, was one of the most revered deities, symbolizing the sun, creation, and divine authority. As the supreme god, Ra was believed to traverse the sky during the day in his solar bark and journey through the underworld at night, battling darkness to be reborn again at dawn. Now, this daily cycle, Ra, had different names. I know the rising sun, which was Kemet. No, not the rising sun was Keper Ra. And here, let me just look up real quick 3 names for Ra in ancient Kemet. 3 names for Ra. Let me look that up because I had to get that right. Let me put up this, where we at? 3 names for Ra in ancient Kemet. This keeps defaulting to a website that I don't necessarily like using, and that is Yahoo is the search engine. So I'm going to go to, bear with me, I'm going to go to Duck, not Suck, Duck. Don't go there. Duck, go, search. There we are. We are in Duck, go, search. And I'm going to put this up 3 names for Ra. What are you doing? What are you doing? 3 names for Ra. That turned out really weird. And let me just skip that one and go over here to Brave. I don't know what happened there. And I don't know why this thing keeps defaulting to the Yahoo search engine. Obviously, I got to get my settings. 3 names for Ra in ancient Kemet. The 3 names for Ra were: number 1, Ra was known by several names in ancient Kemet. Some of these names include Re, Kepri, or Keper Ra, and Atum Ra. And I'm looking for the rising sun, no, setting sun, rising sun, and daily sun. Bear with me. I type poorly when I'm under pressure. Keper Ra, the morning manifestation of Ra, depicted as a scarab beetle who rolls up the sun in the mornings. And that's the dung beetle. Atum Ra, the evening manifestation of Ra, representing the setting sun and the overnight journey of the sun. And there is Ra Horeki, the midday manifestation of Ra, representing the daylight sun. So those are the 3 names of Ra, the 3 manifestations of Ra that we should know about and should pay close attention to. So these are Ra sun god names. Copy, paste this here, and we are live and direct. So I'm going to paste this also on my YouTube page so that those of you know that there are 3 names of Ra, 3 manifestations of Ra. And I'm going to paste this up on Rumble, even though I know the whole thing won't paste in all. I'll just have to copy this last part one more time. Where we at? I'm over here, and I'm doing the 3 manifestations of Ra. And the third one is Ra Horakti, Horakti, the midday manifestation of Ra, representing the daylight sun. There we go. So let's continue with the story for today. The worship of Ra in ancient Egypt. Worship of Ra dates back to the Old Kingdom, circa 2686 to 2181 before the Common Era, the Old Kingdom. Now we're talking about add 2000 plus 25 years to that. This is 4000 4,700 years ago. So this is close to 3,000 years, not 3,000, 5,000 years ago. Worship of Ra dates back to the Old Kingdom, with its primary cult centered in Heliopolis, the city of the sun. Temples dedicated to Ra served as important religious hubs where priests conducted daily rituals, offerings, and hymns to sustain his strength and ensure the sun's continued journey across the heavens. And Heliopolis did have an ancient Kemetic name. That ancient Kemetic name was Heliopolis was a city in ancient Greek. The ancient Kemetic Egyptian name Kemetic for Heliopolis was Lunu, which means the pillars. The name is also referred to as Hot Ka Ptah, which means the house of the Ka of Ptah. The city was a major religious center and known for its worship of the sun god Ra and Atum. The name Heliopolis is the Latinized form of the Greek name Heliopolis, meaning city of the sun. So we have bypassed that. And let me put that in here. And this is the name of the city was Lunu, which means the pillars, was also referred to as Hot Ka Ptah, or the house of the Ka of Ptah. That is very important. And I'm going to just paste this in here for my record. Let's go forward. Pharaohs often associated themselves with Ra, claiming divine legitimacy by asserting that they were his earthly representatives or even his living embodiments. Titles such as Son of Ra reinforce the sacred link, emphasizing the ruler's role in upholding cosmic order, known as Ma'at. Over time, Ra was synchronized or syncretized with other deities, most notably Atum, forming Amun Ra, supreme god who combined hidden powers Amun with solar might Ra. This fusion elevated Ra's status during the New Kingdom, when Amun Ra became the head of the pantheon. Now, there is this idea of the Old Kingdom and the New Kingdom. Let's try and bring some clarity to that. In the Old Kingdom, you saw many of the great accomplishments attributed to the ancients, the building of the pyramids and temples. And we saw the rise of Imhotep. I did publish the book, Standard Omission, recently, and it does talk further about the delineation between the Old Kingdom and the New Kingdom. And what separated the two was an intermediate period. And let me see if I can find this, because this is actually a pretty significant history. There was an intermediate period when ancient Egypt was conquered. And during that period when it was conquered by foreigners, Old Kingdom 17 through 18, 63 to 65, I think that's where I want to get in, 63 to 65. The Old Kingdom was conquered by the Hyksos, the period of the conquering from other Western Asian groups. Now, here I am, page, a brief review of John F. Nuri's Ancient Egyptian Medicine, which is a good book. And he writes, or I wrote, on page 63, I quoted him. One of the more revealing themes within Noon's analysis is the importance of the Old Kingdom in ancient Egypt's outstanding accomplishments. Now, this is highly, highly relevant to you and me. I want you to pay close attention because this short excerpt is about resilience, redemption, recovery, all of those words that we so badly need at this time. John F. Nunn wrote, the Old Kingdom comprised the third to the sixth dynasties, circa 2686 to 2181 BC, and was a period of spectacular accomplishments. The building of the Great Pyramids at Giza provides irrefutable evidence of an astonishing level of competence in mathematics, astronomy, stonework, transport, and organization. The hieroglyphics assumed their canonical form early in the Old Kingdom, and a wealth of texts in the script, mostly funerary and religious, have survived. Most of the methods of food production described in the following section were already developed and recorded in the Old Kingdom, and the population was estimated to have increased to between 1 and 1.5 million. And he's referring to Butzer's research from 1976. Now, here's what I wrote about that. For me, this excerpt represents a profound breakthrough in understanding Kemetic accomplishments, achievements. While I have been aware that there were ebbs and tides in Nile Valley civilization, this was the first time that the contrast between the Old Kingdom and the subsequent epochs of development occurred to me. Nunn's analysis continues, quote, almost half of all known pharaonic doctors practiced during the Old Kingdom, and specialization was already well advanced. It is thought by many that parts of some of the medical papyri, the Edwin Smith in particular, were first written during this period. And he's citing Breasted, 1930, Weston, 1992. However, only copies from later periods have survived. The earliest medical writings seem to concern less magic than in later periods. And Westerndorf, 1992, has suggested that the spectacular achievements of the early Old Kingdom must have engendered a feeling of immense confidence in the powers of mankind, and particularly the king, the pharaoh. A people who could raise the pyramids must have felt that everything was written their power. Turning at a later date towards magic for the cure of disease may have reflected the loss of confidence in mankind and the ability of the king to control their destiny. It may not be coincidental that in the fifth dynasty, all kings acknowledged in the cartouche of their nomen that they were the sons of Ra, and their pyramids were much smaller. At the end of the dynasty, the pyramid text featured in the pyramid of Unas, and the role of magic became dominant. So here's what I'm going to say. This Old Kingdom process, it goes on and goes on. The Old Kingdom process, the people had confidence in themselves and their science and their math and all of the things they did. But later, after the period is disrupted, the Old Kingdom is interrupted by several hundred years of conquest from the outside. And it was beginning with Tutmosis the first, and the apex really kind of reached Tutmosis the third And then there's Ramses is in the mix. I don't have the chronology in that in my mind right now. It's in the book. That then change it off. Now, let's talk about this intermediate period. Ooh, I just discovered this. This is good. Now, one more paragraph from John F. Nunn. This is not from John F. Nunn. This is from Brave AI Inquiry, Kemet's Political Changes. I wrote, the old kingdom of Kemet was characterized by a strong central government and the power of the king, while the first intermediate period saw a decline in the king's authority and the time of powerful regional governors called monarchs. The monarchs passed down their titles through their lineage, creating local dynasties that were not under the control of a central government. This shift led to internal disorder and conflict, particularly after the long reign of Pepi II from 2278 to 2184 before the Common Era. The reign of Pepi II, which resulted in succession struggles and eventually civil war. The first intermediate period, spanning approximately 100 years, 2181 before the Common Era, was marked by political instability, conflict between the Heracleopolitan and Theban kings, and the destruction of temples, artwork, and statues of kings due to the political chaos. So that is the first intermediate period. It goes on, events leading to the first intermediate period. I'm going to get out of here in a second, but this is fascinating. I'm just remembering how good my own book is. The Old Kingdom, which preceded this period, fell for numerous reasons. One was the extremely long reign of Pepi II, the last major king of the sixth dynasty, and the resulting succession issues. Another major problem was the rise in power of the provincial monarchs. Toward the end of the Old Kingdom, the positions of the monarchs, nomarchs, keep saying monarchs, it should say nomarchs, had become hereditary, creating family legacies independent from the pharaoh. They erected tombs in their own domains and often raised armies and engaged in local rivalries. A third reason for the dissolution of centralized pharaohship was the low level of the Nile inundation, which may have resulted in a drier climate, lower crop yields, and famine. Now, that takes us to the New Kingdom. Now, I need to look up the New Kingdom in the index, New N-E-W Kingdom, page 71. Page 71. We're going to go to the New Kingdom. And the New Kingdom is indicated by the appearance of a particular papyrus. And this will be the Ebers Papyrus. So I'm going to skip forward. Now, we're not talking about the kingdoms per se. We're talking about these papyrus that give us an understanding that African medical science is the origin of Greco-Roman medicine. The Ebers Papyrus was written during the late Second Intermediate Period or early New Kingdom, but it is believed to have been copied from earlier Egyptian texts. That from earlier copied from the Old Kingdom text. The Ebers Papyrus is a 110-page scroll, almost 20 meters long, and the most extensive surviving medical document, containing over 80 prescriptions and discussing ailments such as digestive disorders, eye diseases, and heart conditions. Now, page 75, one more time, I'm going to mention the New Kingdom. And I thought I was on page 75. One second. This is definitely worth waiting for. And I would say, you know, you need the book. Page 75. You know, you need this book. So now I'm looking for a new kingdom. And I'm just not seeing it, and I don't have time to waste on that. So let's go forward. The new kingdom, I believe, begins with Tutmos the first, who is a strong leader, Tutmos, and he has restored the integrity of the pharaonic lineage. So they have suppressed the wars, the civil wars of the nomarchs in this first intermediate period. So now that the new dynasty is restored, I believe this will be the eighth dynasty. Now we see this is the beginning of the new kingdom. Now, if there's someone out there who has more expertise on this and you want to correct me, I think that'll be just fine. I have no problem with that, but I'm doing the best that I can. I do see you in the house. Ed L. Mackey says, happy summertime to the family. Yeah, happy welcome to you, Brother Ed, on this, the day of the solar solstice. Welcome to you, summer solstice. And welcome to you, dear brother. I'm going to go the new kingdom. Tutmos the first. I don't know much about Tutmos II, but they're the grandson of Tutmos. Tutmos III becomes the first Egyptian conqueror. And Tutmos III now goes out and retakes much of that kingdom. At this particular point, I have a video up. I'm going to share this short video with each and every one of you. And I think this has Tutmos III's conquest in it. If it's not in this one, then it was in another video that came up after this, which is actually 10 minutes long. And I don't want to spend that much time on the video. Let's just go to this first video and let's see what it has to say. I'm going to add this to the stage. We're going to go over here and we are going to click on and play. I'm going to mute myself while this is playing. All right. What I'm going to do right now is I am going to stop this screen, remove that, and there's another screen that's starting up right now. I'm going to skip that. I'm going to go to this screen, and I want to tell the story of Tutmos III. So bear with me. I'm going to add this one to stage. Bear with me. Add to stage. Remove that one. I'm going to add to stage this one. Present. Where are we at? Don't do this to me. Take this off. Stop screen. Add to stage. Share screen. This is what I'm sharing. Here we go. Now, I'm going to kind of fast forward through this. This is now talking about, here we go. This is what I wanted to share with you. This regards Tutmos. We'll be right back in just a minute with this video. Thank you for being patient. This is well worth waiting for. You're going to love it.
The pharaohs of the New Kingdom created a period of unprecedented prosperity by protecting borders and strengthening diplomatic ties with their neighbors. Military campaigns, led by Pharaoh Thutmose I, led to the conquest of new lands, guaranteeing the dominance of Palestine, Syria, and Lebanon. Thutmose I ordered new constructions in several cities and elaborated new works of art, among them a stela, where his achievements as a ruler were recorded. His successors maintained territorial control, fighting rebellions in the conquered lands. His grandson Thutmose III was considered one of the most important pharaohs of ancient Egypt. Thutmose III had a great military activity, with more than 17 campaigns, and maintained his grandfather's building momentum. During the reign of Thutmose III, there was a revolt in Canaan. The Canaanites were led by the king of the city of Kadesh and assembled troops to expel the Egyptians from their territories. This dispute originated the famous Battle of Megiddo, which has enormous archaeological importance. It was the first battle to be recorded and detailed in writing in history. The Egyptians described the details of the battle on the walls of the temple of Amon-Ra, which today is in the city of Luxor, the ancient Thebes. Thutmose III gathered his army and fought against the rebels in a plain. His victory caused the Canaanites to retreat into the city of Megiddo on top of a hill. The battle ended after Megiddo was besieged for 7 months, which led to the surrender of the city. Also in the Battle of Megiddo was used for the first time the compound bow, a more effective version than the bows used previously. The victory was very profitable for the Egyptians. According to the reports, they captured 894 war chariots, 2 of them covered in gold, and 2,000 horses. After this victory and subsequent conquest of the territories, Egypt reached its peak. Its territorial domination started at the Euphrates River in Syria and went to Napata in the Kushite territory. Thutmose III still attacked the kingdom of Mitanni that belonged to the Horites. He won again and annexed new lands to Egypt and a new contingent of captured soldiers. Thutmose III is believed to have visited the Greek city of Crete, probably the first pharaoh of Upper Egypt to travel by sea and visit a foreign nation. But not everything went well for the Egyptians during the New Kingdom. A turbulent period erupted when a new pharaoh took the throne. Pharaoh Akhenaten was one of the most controversial figures in Egyptian history, and his life is full of mysteries and questions. Akhenaten wanted to extinguish the cult and traditional deities of Egypt. He challenged more than 1,500 years of religious traditions when he decided to adopt only one god, decreeing that the god of Aton was the only creator of all things and living beings. The god Aton was the personification of the sun, source of light and warmth to the world. The pharaoh chose Akhenaten's name, which can be translated as "he who praises Aton." Akhenaten was a sloppy pharaoh in diplomatic and military relations. Neighboring kingdoms severed relations with Egypt, and some became threats again. The ancient Egyptians later referred to Akhenaten as the Mad Pharaoh. The monarch constantly showed his religious fervor, affirming, "Aton lives, there is no other except him." This behavior infuriated many priests and citizens, causing riots and violence in parts of the New Kingdom.
A little bit more, and then I'm going to pause it. A little bit more.
Akhenaten's main wife was Queen Nefertiti, who became world-renowned when her bust was found in 1912 by German archaeologists. Nefertiti is believed to have been a beautiful woman. The sculpture was never finished, with one eye missing, so that her image would not provoke the anger and jealousy of the Egyptian goddesses.
And
After
it's
Akhenaten's
also,
death, Nefertiti disappeared.
yeah, bear with me. It's also believed that the bust of Nefertiti is a fake. And that's why I'm going to stop the screen at that particular point. The bust of Nefertiti, if you talk to Professor Manu Ampem, has done a good job at debunking the bust of Nefertiti as a fake. And if you look at the man even said in the video, and I'll paste that link to the video up here in case anybody wants to go and pursue it, that the bust of Nefertiti is, according to our scholarship, is a fake. So I'm posting this up here. Bear with me. The ancient Egyptian, and this is what I am posting up. There we go. So you have access to it too. Now, today we are celebrating the worship of the sun in ancient Egypt, which was as a consequence of Akhenaten's intervention. There was undeniably a major controversy with Akhenaten severing the dynastic kingdom from the old worship of the pantheon of the gods, and now saying there's only one God, and it is Ra, represented by the sun, or Aten Ra, or Amun Ra. You could say the same thing. So, 1 second. Let's get back into our study. Over time, Ra, not Wa, over time, Ra was syncretized with other deities, most notably Amun, forming Amun Ra, a supreme god who combined hidden power Amun with solar might Ra. This fusion elevated Ra's status during the New Kingdom when Amun Ra became the head of the pantheon. Temples like Karnak and Abu Simbel were adorned with colossus statues and inscriptions honoring Ra and his divine aspects. Solar obelisks erected in temple courtyards symbolized the sun's life-giving rays and were often inscribed with prayers and dedications. The Book of the Dead, or the Book of Coming Forth by Day and by Night, and the more specialized Book of the Amduat, detailed Ra's perilous nocturnal journey through the underworld, facing the serpent Apophis and other threats. These texts not only illustrated cosmic battles, but also offered guidance for the deceased to join Ra in his eternal cycle of renewal. So here we have this eternal cycle of renewal. The idea of rebirth comes in. Ultimately, Ra's worship encapsulated the Egyptian world view, a cosmos governed by balance, divine order, and the eternal return of light over darkness. Let's talk about summer solstice in ancient Kemet, the rebirth of grace and glory. Summer solstice in Kemet is a concept that intertwines the ancient spiritual traditions of Kemet, ancient Egypt, along with the astronomical events of the summer solstice. Here are 20 points that explore this theme. Point number 1, the summer solstice marks the longest day of the year in the northern hemisphere, occurring on June 20, 2025 at 10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So technically, it's still not yet here, which is why I'm still just finishing up the food that I had prepared for the feast before the summer solstice. Point number 2, in Kemet, the summer solstice was a significant event, often associated with the worship of the sun and the celebration of life's cycles. 3, the ancient Egyptians believed that the sun was a divine entity or represented. They didn't worship the sun. The sun was a symbol of this powerful divine representation. And the summer solstice was a time to honor the sun's power or Ra's power and the sun's role in sustaining life, which means Ra's power in sustaining life. Again, we're using European text, using European language and points of reference. So we have to understand there is a difference what they see and what was our way. We have to understand as long as you and I are functioning in the language of our conquerors, we are challenged to reinterpret their ideas to what they really were when the ideas were our own ideas. This is challenging. It is constant, and it makes us see things 2 times. To see it through their cultural lens, as well as to see it the way that it was, which requires us to do our own research. I encourage you to do that as well. Anybody want to comment on that? We'd love to hear from you today. We'd love to hear what's on your mind, no doubt. And let's continue. We are continuing. We're talking about 20 points that explore this theme of Ra as supreme in ancient Kemet. Number 4, the summer solstice was also linked to the star Sirius, known as Sabdet in Kemet, which was believed to signal the annual flooding of the Nile River. And that's actually true. The beginning of the new Kemetic year was based upon the heliacal rising of the dog star Sabdet. And when this star rose, it signaled the beginning of the new Kemetic year. So there is no official date separating the new year from the old year. It's based upon a cosmic event. We have here at LIV Radio and through this at Black Store Media family, we've come to use the changeover between the months of July and August as the beginning of the new Kemetic calendar year. But actually, there is a fluctuation in there. It would depend upon the rising of the Nile and the dog star. Point 5, the flooding of the Nile was crucial for agriculture, and the appearance of Sirius, the dog star, Sabdet, was seen as a sign of renewal and fertility. So it was a sign of the new Kemetic year. Point 6, the summer solstice was a time of celebration and ritual, with people gathering to honor the sun and the cycles of nature. I am negligent by not hosting a gathering. We understand what it means. So we should, where we are, host a gathering. Are you interested in a gathering this evening? I had been tinkering with the idea, and I think I did schedule it, but I didn't promote it, of having conversations on Friday evenings to deal with the Kuchichagulia villages. So I have this on the books. If you're interested, let me know. I need to have 5 people tell me within the next hour. Otherwise, I'm not going to do it. If you're not interested in it, I'm tired of hosting events where very few people show. And if you want to celebrate the summer solstice, you should let me know. We can do so. Or if better yet, if you have a summer solstice celebration coming up, I will gladly, very happily be happy to join you in that summer solstice celebration. 6, the summer solstice was a time for celebration with ritual, with people gathering to honor the sun and the cycles of nature, period. 7, the ancient Egyptian celebrated the summer solstice with festivals and rituals, which then included offerings, music, and dance. Point 8, the summer solstice was also a time for spiritual reflection and renewal as people sought to align themselves with the divine forces of the universe. This is why on the summer solstice, one of the ways we celebrate is detoxification. Through a detoxification fast, we align our bodies with the divine forces of the universe. Number 9, the concept of Ma'at, or cosmic order, was central to Kemetic spirituality. And the summer solstice was a time to reaffirm this principle of Ma'at, truth, justice, balance, harmony, reciprocity, propriety, and order. That is Ma'at. 7 principles, and there is also 42 negative confessions of Ma'at, or the 42 positive affirmations of Ma'at. Very important. That was our cosmic system of order that we knew when we ran the planet, long before the Greeks, long before the Romans, long before the Europeans, long before the French and the British and the Germans and everyone else, long before Donald Trump. We ran the planet. We have to understand that. The summer solstice was seen as a time of balance where the forces of light and darkness were in harmony. The ancient Egyptians, number 11, believed that the sun was a symbol of the divine. And the summer solstice was a time to seek the sun's blessings and guidance. See, there's no difference between the sun and this character you and I have learned to refer to as Jesus. There's no difference in the ancient logic and the Kemetic science. There's no difference at all. But when the Europeans gained dominance over us, they crushed the idea of the sun, which is directly available to all of us every day. They disrupted that and therefore attached a number of us to a dead character. Now, if you think about that, a dead character, oh, he sacrificed himself for all of us, and he died for our sins. You know what I'm talking about. But the sun never died. The sun absorbs our sins, it absorbs our joys, it absorbs our crying, it absorbs our tears of joy and laughter. The sun has never left us. We don't have to go into the dark and chant and pray and plead and cajole, whatever. We just have to go outside and absorb Ra if we want to. If we want to. Next point. The summer solstice was also a time for the renewal of the soul, as people sought to purify themselves and prepare for the coming seasons. Renewal of the soul. Purify myself. This is why I detox. The ancients did. The priests of old, yes, they did. They purified themselves. They cleansed themselves inside and out, spiritually as well, to prepare for the coming seasons with the coming challenges. The summer solstice was a time for the celebration of the gods. As people, particularly the sun god Ra, who is believed to be the source of all life. And you had other gods, subordinate gods. There was the great god Hapi, which is the god of the upper waters of the Nile, who dwelt in the valley of the mountains of the moon and would gather up the sediments with the inundation of the Nile River. And Hapi would scatter these sediments throughout the Nile Valley, and this would signal the rebirth of life, fertility in the soil. Number 14, the ancient Egyptians, Kemetians, believed that the summer solstice was a time when the veil between the physical and spiritual worlds was thin, allowing for greater communication with the divine. Number 15, the summer solstice was a time for the celebration of the cycle of life, death, and rebirth, which was central to Kemetic spirituality. Central: life, death, rebirth. Central. So the idea of reincarnation was built in. It was central. It was easy for our people to understand. So why fear death if you know you're going to be reborn again? The ancient Egyptians believed that the summer solstice was a time when the gods were the most active and people sought their favor and protection. Number 17, the summer solstice was a time for the celebration of the sun's journey across the sky, which was seen as a metaphor for the journey of the soul. That's awesome. I'm imagining myself being in such a civilization with beliefs like this, widely taught, widely shared amongst a civilization. We can share all of these values within a Kuchitagalea village. This village that you see behind me, we share these values. Look at how the people are venerating the sun there. Can you imagine? Yeah, I can imagine. We continue. The ancient Egyptians believed that the summer solstice was a time when the sun's energy was at its peak, and people sought to harness this energy for spiritual growth. Point number 19, the summer solstice was a time for the celebration of the sun's role in the creation of the world, as it was believed to be the source of all life and energy. And technically, it is the source of all life and energy on this planet and on the other planets. Number 20, the summer solstice was a time for the celebration of the divine grace and glory, as people sought to connect with divine forces that governed the universe. Grace and glory, divinity that governs the universe. Sounds a little bit like God, the Father, except this was not God the Father. This was what came before God the Father. And this included God the Mother. This included the divine spirituality unifying everything. We had all of these wonderful concepts, the tree of life, Ma'at, the cardinal principles, 4 cardinal principles: fire, water, earth, air. We had all of these iconic symbols of true spiritual inspiration. How could we possibly reduce all of that down to the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost? It's an insult. It's an insult to the intelligence of our people. Truly is an insult. Can we do better than this? Yeah. Let's talk about the cultural legacy of ancient Kemet, Egypt. The cultural legacy of ancient Kemet did not remain confined to the Nile Valley. It radiated across the African continent in very profound ways. Here are 10 key points that describe how Kemetic culture dispersed and influenced other African civilizations. 10 ways. Number 1, Nubian Kemetic continuum. Kemet and Nubia, which is modern day Sudan, share deep cultural, religious, and political ties. Nubian rulers even governed Egypt during the 25th dynasty, reviving Kemetic traditions and spreading them further south. In 25th dynasty, this is getting near the end of the dynastic period. Number 2, Ta Seti origins. And Ta Seti was our name for ancient Kemet. Archaeological evidence from Kustuj and Ta Seti suggests that early Kemetic symbols and royal iconography originated in Nubia, indicating a south to north cultural flow that later reversed as Kemet expanded. So the culture flowed from south to north, but later that reversed itself. Very, very important. I see you in the house, 44 John. Welcome, Aquaba. Greetings to all of you. We welcome to the LIB radio family. Point number 3, spiritual and cosmological diffusion. Kemetic spiritual concepts like Ma'at, cosmic balance, the afterlife, and the deification of ancestors influence spiritual systems across West and Central Africa, visible in Yoruba, Akan, and Dogon cosmologies. Very serious. Point 4, the Medu Neter and symbolic systems. The hieroglyphic script, Medu Neter, and the symbolic logic inspired sacred writing systems and visual cosmologies in other African traditions, such as the Nsibidi in northeastern Nigeria and the Dinkra in Ghana. Very important. Number 5, archaeological echoes. The pyramid building tradition, while most famously associated with Egypt, also appears in Nubia, e.g., example given Meroe, and in the Sahelian mosque architecture of Mali and Niger, reflecting Kemetic influence on sacred space design. Number 6, philosophical and ethical systems. Kemetic moral teachings, like the 42 laws of Ma'at, echo in African proverbs, customary law, and communal ethics, emphasizing truth, reciprocity, and harmony with nature. Again, Ma'at represents truth, justice, balance, harmony, reciprocity, order, and propriety. Number 7, trade and migration networks. Kemetic goods, technologies, and ideas spread via trans-Saharan trade routes, reaching West Africa and influencing metallurgy, architecture, and governance structures. Number 8, of how Kemetic culture diffused across the continent, education and mystery schools. The priesthood and temple-based education systems of Kemet inspired later initiatory traditions, such as the Dogon's sacred knowledge systems and the griot oral historians of West Africa. And I must say that I myself, a beneficiary of the migration and preservation of these traditions, I was ordained in the Kemetic order, sacred order of the Sons of Ra Ministries. And I'm very, very proud of that. It's meaningful. It's not just an empty designation. It's meaningful. I had to work for that. I'm very proud of the work. Number 9, cultural memory and resistance. During periods of colonization and cultural suppression, African scholars and liberation movements reclaimed Kemetic heritage as a source of pride and resistance, reinforcing its Pan-African significance. Very important. And number 10, Pan-African resistance. In modern times, the reclamation of Kemet as an African civilization has fueled cultural revival movements across the continent and across the diaspora, reconnecting people with ancestral knowledge and identity. So this is who I am. This is who we are. We can choose to claim otherwise. We can choose to act otherwise, to believe otherwise. But this is our natural inheritance. These dispersals did definitely reshape many different regions, such as the Sahel, the Great Lakes region, or West Africa. How do they intersect with your interests in systemic health and cultural continuity? I asked that question of a different search engine, and it gave me a whole different understanding. Here are 10 ways in which Kemet's civilization radiated beyond the Nile Valley into the wider African world in antiquity. Number one, southward expansion into the Sudanese heartland, early state-forming communities linked to Kemet already lay upriver of Egypt proper, around Ta Seti and near present-day Khartoum, showing that Kemetic-centered culture extended deep into Nubia before the first dynasty even began. Number two, Nubian Kemetic political continuum during the third intermediate and late periods. Nubian kings of the 25th dynasty ruled from Thebes, revitalizing temples, reviving hieroglyphic writing and iconography, and fusing Upper Nubia and Upper Egypt into a single cultural state or cultural sphere. Nubia and Upper Egypt fused into a single cultural sphere. Point three, Ta Seti Kustuj origins of royal symbols, excavations at Kustul, near the modern Sudan-Egypt border. The unearthing of incense burners, thrones, and crowns bearing early versions of the falcon standard and white crown, artifacts that show Nubian elites were innovating Kemetic regalia as early as 3,800 years before the Common Era. This is all so ancient. This is all so ancient. It's almost inconceivable as we think about it in modern times. But we have to always keep in mind the concept of life, death, rebirth. So it may go on forever. Ashe. Number four, the Osirian cult, which is Osar, in Kerma, and Meroe. The worship of Osar, Osiris, and related funerary rites crossed into Kushite Kerma from circa 2500 before the Common Era to 1500 BC, and later into the Meroic Kingdom, circa 800 before the Common Era to 350, where Egyptian mortuary architecture and divine iconography were adapted to local traditions. Number five, the pyramids of Meroe as architectural imitation. By the 3rd century before the Common Era, Nubian royals at Meroe were building steep-sided pyramids along the Nile's west bank, an explicit echo of Egyptian royal funerary monuments, but scaled and styled to Kushite preferences. Number six, trans-Saharan trade and idea exchange. Egyptian grain, papyrus, and funerary goods traveled south and west via caravan routes. Alongside commodities went scribal practices, medical knowledge, example, herbal pharmacology, and statecraft models, which informed emerging kingdoms in the Sahel. So therefore, it would have influenced the rise of Mansa Musa, the rise of Ghana, of Nok, and other great kingdoms, the rise of Igbo kingdom, were all influenced by the trans-Saharan trade and idea exchange from ancient Kemet. Number 7, shared material culture. Headrests and hairstyles and everyday objects, such as wooden headrests and the side lock youth haircut, appear in both pharaonic tomb scenes and Iron Age West African burials, signaling common aesthetic and functionary design choices. Number 8, Medu Neter's influence on later scripts. The visual logic of hieroglyphs inspired other African symbol systems. Example given, Ghana's Adinkra cloth motifs and southeastern Nigeria's Nsibidi, where pictograph and ideographic signals and signs carried communal and spiritual meanings. These pictographic and iconographic symbols and signs carried communal and spiritual meaning. Number 9, Ma'at's ethical ripple. The Kemetic principle of Ma'at, justice, balance, reciprocity, peace, no, not peace. The Kemetic principle of Ma'at resonated beyond the Nile. Elements of its surface in Akan, proverbs, or communal harmony, Yoruba norms of truth telling, and customary courts that stress social equilibrium. And number 10, the Isis cult, Osset. The Osset cult and late antique pilgrimages from Egypt to Nubia and deep into the Horn, temples dedicated to Isis, Osset, and later syncretized Christian saints drew worshippers on pilgrimage, spreading Egyptian rituals of healing, oracle consultation, and festival cycle observance. So we can still see these do persist with the rituals dedicated to Saint Miriam, the mother of the Christ in Ethiopian culture. They do persist. Here are 10 threads reflecting Kemetic life you can still spot in living African traditions today. Number 1, material culture, the wooden headrest, ekpete okra, that supported sleepers' necks in pharaonic tomb paintings, still turns up in West and Central African burials, serving the same ergonomic and spiritual function. Number 2, hair styling. The childhood side lock of youth, seen on Egyptian princes, endures in Fulani children's cornrow patterns and Maasai youth hair rituals, marking rites of passage. Pyramid motifs. Nubian funerary pyramids at Meroe and later Sahelian Islamic Musalaya echo the shape and symbolism of old kingdom tombs, steep-sided monuments as stairways for the soul. Visual symbolism. Adinkra cloth in Ghana, an ivory mask in Benin, incorporate stylized geometric motifs, spirals, the ankh, the eye, that descend from hieroglyphic symbols and logic. Pictographs repurpose as charms and clan emblems. Number 5, ethical cosmology. Ma'at's ideals of balance, truth, and reciprocity resonate in Akan proverbs, such as, no one puts a knife on the ground without its handle sticking up, and the Yoruba injunction to live in harmony with community and nature. Number 6, oral scholarship. The temple school model survives in griot and praise name traditions. Families of storytellers who maintain sacred histories, genealogies, and ritual knowledge, just as Medu Neter priests also did. Number 7, botanical pharmacopoeia. Castor, myrrh, incense resins, and aquatic papyrus extracts remain staples of West African herbalists and healers. Echoes of Kemetic materia medica reported on papyri. Number 8, festival cycles. New Year and harvest celebrations in the Sahel mirror Wepet Renpet, the Egyptian New Year, marking agricultural renewal, sacrificial rites, and pilgrimages to river shrines. Dance and gesture. Many Central African dance forms feature arm raised poses and breath control drills, strikingly similar to depicted Osirian and Hathoric temple dances, movements intended to invoke divine presence. And 10, cultural revivalism. Pan-African and Afrocentric movements reclaim Kemet in organizational names, university courses, and arts collectives, reasserting the Nile Valley as a foundational chapter of African civilization. I hope you can gather by today's presentation that ancient Kemet was heavy. We got down. We accomplished quite a bit. Now, you and I are challenged with what do we do in our time? In this time, what do we do to bring this order back into place? What can we do? What do we do? I say don't do it alone. I'm doing the best I can to collaborate, cooperate with all of you. Some of you all act as almost as if you refuse to cooperate and collaborate. But I don't think it's too much to ask for. Not at all. I think we can do it. I think that we should do something very serious to rebuild, revive, revitalize. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But I don't think I am. So we're going to make changes. We're going to make glorious changes, wonderful changes and transformation. Let's start today, this evening. The actual beginning of summer solstice is at 10 p.m. Eastern time. That's 7 p.m. here on the West Coast. There's a lot There's a great and glorious world ahead of us. Should we will to change, should we will to transform, everybody's not going to do it, but it is for all of us to do. I'm inspired. Let me double check and see how many people hit the like button for today. Because the ones who won't even hit the like button for it, don't expect them to do anything. 3 people on Rumble, that's not so impressive. We got a lot of work to do. We got a lot of catching up with ourselves to do. And it appears that we're very reluctant to do so. That's what it appears. I do look forward to working with anybody out there. Just get in contact. Just get in contact. We can do whatever we will to do, but we've got to do something. We got to do something. So on that note, I asked you yesterday and the day before and the day before and the day before to buy a book. I'm not going to do that today. I'm not going to ask you to buy a book. I'm not going to ask you to hit the like button. You will be tuned in again to us. I'm going to skip tomorrow. Tomorrow we will have the Living Superfood Family Reunion, and we will discuss the detox fast and how it's going. If you want to join the detox fast, it's not too late, or it is too late. It's not too late, or it is too late. I have a friend, he's a good brother, and he's got 3 illnesses, one of which is kidney dialysis. And it's going to cost him his life if he doesn't radically change. He took the jabs as ordered, and it came back as we warned. So you, the listening audience, you either are or you're not. Everybody's not going to make it, so saying the precise science group. They said everybody's not going to make it. And that is true. You've been tuned into your favorite. We aim to be your favorite. We are LIB Radio. We are LIB TV. We are livinginblack.com. I hope you find this to be fascinating. I hope you find this to be helpful. We aim to be your favorite. We are LIB Radio, LIB TV. We are living in black.com. Peace and prosperity to each and every one of you.